All right, welcome back, guys. So this next step here, we're going to be adding some blue and some violet inks to kind of reestablish some shadows on our mechs before we get into brush painting. So it's kind of a nice cheating step, I guess, maybe. I like to think of it as, to do a lot of the work that we would normally try and do with like washes or something with a brush. But we're going to do it with the airbrush so it gets a nice smooth gradient and it saves us a lot of time and a lot of cleanup. And it actually just looks better all around, I would say. So I've actually in the background been doing a couple other models, the same pace, so between color changes and whatnot. And I wanted to show the difference between doing it kind of on camera without taking pause breaks and prepping, you know, each paint kind of like I normally, like I've done on camera, but at my own speed kind of idea, and not being kind of pressed for time. So this is a Berserker I printed next to the CGL BattleMaster here. So you can see the fades and the color transitions are a fair bit smoother on that guy. Same paints, like same procedure and everything, same recipe. Just the time that the care and the time that you take makes a big difference, I would say. I've also done a little bit larger one as well to show you. So this is to the same step. This is a 200% size Highlander I printed, but so yeah, just the same general colors, the same procedure. Just our transitions and blends are a little bit smoother, just without the camera and stuff in the way. So I'm going to do the same thing to these guys as I am to our BattleMaster. And this has actually worked out perfect because generally when somebody that's not used to airbrushing a lot, you know, or every day, this is what they're going to paint. They're going to paint something like this where it's more solid blocky colors as opposed to the nice transitional fades on the other ones that I would generally kind of strive for just in my everyday work. So we're going to start off with, again, some water. The inks that I'm using are scale 75. They're very potent, very strong. Vallejo makes great inks. A lot of people use Liquitex or I can't remember the other one. Daler Rowney, something like that. They're sold at art stores and they're quite common, but they're good. They're very strong as well. Watercolors I like, and GW shades sometimes I'll use as well, shades or glazes. So because it's so strong, we really only need a drop. Less is more. We'll just go more passes than putting a really thick color on once. We want to be kind of gently finessing some shadows back in. We don't want to overpower everything that we've done already. So big step here is going to be mixing it up. It's a fair amount of water. I'd say 9, 10, even 12 drops of water compared to 1 drop of ink. And we'll just check the consistency. We want it to bleed quite a bit. Oof, I'd say even a little more. Just because we're going to be making multiple passes. So when you're spraying inks and other things that are thin, I'll probably turn the PSI down a little bit to around 20. You don't want to be focusing and staying on one spot for a prolonged amount of time, because you're going to spray it on the model, it's going to hit the surface of the model, it's going to stay wet longer than regular paint would. It's also thinner than regular paint, so it's going to move easier, and it's going to spiderweb and shoot all over the panels a lot quicker than regular paint would. So let's just check it on my glove here. Yeah, so if I hold it in one spot, you'll see it starts to build up pretty fast, but it also starts to like streak. See, we don't want that. That's terrible. Try not to ever do that in your models. That's why I always have a little bit of airflow, and I'll generally move it quite a bit. So as long as I'm moving, I'm distributing the paint and the air in a generalized area. But I'm not staying on one spot too long that it's focusing too much, and it's building up to the point where it's gonna have like a pool, and then the pool is being pushed by water. Or by airflow, sorry. Okay, cool. So I still want to maintain all the highlights from the top parts. I still want to keep the high points nice and bright. And again, it does look a lot darker on camera than it is in person. Once we move over to the brush painting desk, I think you'll be able to see a lot better with those lights. But so I'm going to approach it from the underside. A lot of people talk about zenithal highlighting. They'll get a black model, they'll spray straight down from the top down, like a white or a light gray, and that'll, you know, kind of shade the entire model as if if it's being lit from the top. We're kind of doing the reverse right now. So we're coming from the bottom. It's already darker on the bottom, you can see, than it is on the middle and on the top. But we want to reinforce those shadows. So yeah, at about 20 PSI, I'm going to just be doing light passes. And because of the angle that I'm holding it at, I'm generally going to only be hitting the top parts of the panels. Remember before I was saying that we're trying to brighten up the bottom parts of the panels because the light would be cascading down and hitting the bottom of the panels. And this guy ended up quite bright and quite solid color-wise. So I don't mind over shading a little bit, or putting a little bit harsher shadows than what I would normally do on other models. Just because this guy is already much brighter than other ones would have been. So I'm just doing straight kind of across passes like this. I'll start spraying, I'll go straight across the model. I'm not stopping on the model. Kind of an idea in the paper towel. I'm doing like this, just kind of a spray straight across the model. Instead of picking a spot and doing it for a prolonged period of time like that and building up too dark, by going straight across the model, multiple passes, and I'm just using a little bit of paint and a fair amount of air. By doing short controlled passes like that, I'm building it up nice and even and nice in a uniform kind of pattern. So I'm going to come at it kind of cross. Now I'm aiming more for the, stitch my brush here. Now I'm aiming more for the face, or the cockpit here. Cockpit, the side panels and whatnot. We've already come at it from below. So kind of aiming like this. Now I want to come across kind of like this. So still from below, still from the bottom angle, but I want to make sure that I hit these side panels here. I want to hit the side panel up here on the SRM launcher. The bottom parts here, I want to hit the sides of. You just want to make sure that you catch all angles, because once you're done this step and I move on to the next step, which is going to be introducing a little bit of violet, I don't want to, again, jump from my main blue color that's solid everywhere and tinted a little bit with this ink, this blue ink. I don't want to be going right from that light blue down to a purple. So this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. We're also going to be doing a black oil wash later, which is going to knock down the brightness quite a bit, in the recesses at least. Yeah, that feels good. So I'm also going to come back in. I'm going to be focusing on a couple spots here, just because, again, it's a little bit too bright for me. We're going to be doing kind of the top part of the panel, like this panel here. We're going to be doing the top half of it. Same with this guy up here. I might try and aim just below the lasers here. Between the laser and the edge of the torso, I'm going to try and get a little bit of a dark blue back there. Try and get some of that fade back as well. And again, you might not want to take this much time and effort painting stuff at home, and you definitely don't have to, but I find if I do it right now with my airbrush, it is much smoother and much faster than doing it later or trying to fudge it in with a brush. And the faster you can do stuff, the more you can get painted, right? And again, we are going to edge highlight this guy pretty intensely. So we will get a lot of definition and pop back to it. Yeah, it feels pretty good. And again, because we're using a blue ink on a blue model, it's really not going to show up that much different. I always try and introduce at least one other color when I'm doing shadows, just so that it's not so uniform or monochromatic. If you're going from dark blue up to light blue, it feels very boring compared to if you had like a purple or a green or something like that, even a really dark red in like some area. So we're gonna add a little bit more water just because this violet is very punchy, very strong. And we're gonna mix that up. So yeah, you can see one drop of the violet in the pre-existing stuff just turned it right violet. You can see it's quite a bit darker, quite a bit stronger, and it is about the same opacity. Perfect. Whoa, that is purple. All right, that's okay though. I do love adding purple as shadows to green mechs, red mechs, blue mechs. Anytime I can paint purple. Yeah, that feels good. So always check on your hand or paper towel or something before you apply it to your model. Whew, all right, okay, so we're gonna go even farther down now. Our angle is super extreme. We're basically pointing straight at his feet, and I'm gonna be doing these short controlled bursts again. It will add a little bit of a shine to it. So because the inks have a little bit of a glossy finish, it's going to start to get a little bit shiny on the model. That's fine. We'll change that later with a matte varnish or something. But again, just these short controlled bursts, making sure I'm always got the correct angle. And I like to have my Davion blue a little bit darker than a lot of other people. So I'm okay doing a little bit intense shadows. And because we're using inks and we're thinning them down from their normal state, it's okay to do multiple small passes. Even if I were to do one from the top down, it's not going to change the brightness or the hue very much, just because it is so thin. But by doing multiple passes from multiple angles, we're slowly and gradually going to build up a fair difference. And this is feeling a lot better. Again, it's hard to see in this particular light, but so look on his kind of hip panel right there. I'm going to try and bring that a little bit darker. So I'm not gonna hold it in one spot again like this, like I might do if I'm bringing up color on a highlight. I might do something like this because the paint's a little bit thicker and it's not gonna run like this. But because this is so thin and it will run, I'm gonna be doing. So right now I'm doing full air. I'm gonna pull back a little bit, and I put a tiny bit of paint on. You saw it get kind of dark and wet there. And I'm gonna do the same thing, full air, tiny bit of paint, dry it off. Air, tiny bit of paint, and 4, 5, 6 times. Now I've got a lot nicer fade to that panel than I did before. If I would have done just one solid hard draw back, it would have just layered that panel in the ink, and it would have ran everywhere, and it would have looked terrible. So one small mistake can ruin a lot of time and effort. So remember to be really careful. Just practice your figure control, your trigger control. Okay, so now I'm going to be, remember earlier we talked about from the front side of the mech is going to be the brighter part and darker at the back. So I've got a little bit of a darker component back here along the back side and the back side of the SRM launcher. I still want to reinforce that because it's going lighter to the front. I want to bring back some of the shadows. So yeah, that feels good. I'm gonna get short controlled bursts. Again from the bottom side. Yeah, I think that's okay. Sorry, I'm just thinking in my head. Thinking if I miss any spots or anything I need to correct. No, I think that feels pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So again, it's a little bit tough to see the transitions. To me, they're popping out easily, and I can see. I'm happy with that. I can do a lot of edge highlighting work. I'll be really happy with how it's sitting right now. We're going to hit this with a matte varnish from a rattle can. You could do it with an airbrush as well. Anytime I get to a point like this where I'm going to be going from the airbrush over to brush paints, or even like airbrush the blue, and I'm going to hit pause and I'm going to mask off some parts and airbrush some other components of the model, I'll varnish it as kind of a save point. So by varnishing it I'll have some protection. If I get some paint splattered on the model or you know, overspray or something like that, I can take a wet Q-tip or a Q-tip with a little bit of airbrush cleaner. I can wipe it on the model and it'll pull off that that mistake that I made, as long as I'm gentle. So I always use varnish as a save point, and then by the time you're done, you've already varnished it, you know, 5, 6, 7 times throughout the course of your model. So it's a lot more durable in the tabletop. Cool. Again, if you have any questions about the airbrushing component, I'm happy to go over any questions or gear or equipment, procedures, that kind of stuff. I know it's a little bit overwhelming to just watch somebody do something on a video. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. And I'll see you guys over on the paintbrush bench shortly here. We'll edge highlight and then we'll start working on the red and white stripes. See you soon.